Hello and welcome to the second episode in my series for complete beginners to Final Fantasy XIV, and indeed MMOs in general, massive multiplayer onlines. My name is JCN, I am the editor-in-chief of Virtua, and in the first episode I covered the basics of character creation, class selection, and how to set up your HUD, your heads-up display, or the UI as it's sometimes also referred to, the user interface. In other words, the information on the screen. I also showed you how to switch that on and switch that off, and as I did in the last video, at the moment it is currently off because I'm going to give you another little preview of one of the beautiful new areas in the latest expansion, Stormblood. Pretty much all of the areas in Final Fantasy XIV are without doubt fantastically beautiful to look at. This one's in a place called the Ruby Sea, so we're going to come out and I'll just give you a little bit of a pan here, maybe a little quicker than that, not too much. There you go. So you can have a look at this beautiful landscape. Look at that. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And with Stormblood you now have the ability to swim and to dive, two things that you'll be able to do. So to be able to explore underwater, I might show you some of that later on in some of the other videos, but enough of showing off the actual beauty of the game. In this episode we're going to talk about the crossbar, which I briefly discussed in the last episode. So let's bring up the HUD with the L1 and the touchpad, and the crossbar as it's called here, or the hotbar or whatever, is here. This is controlled by your controller. As you can see, if I hold down the left trigger, the L2 button, it brings up the left hand side and tells you all of the abilities there above it, and if I hit the R2 button, it also shows you what's on the right hand side, and you'll notice that either on the left or the right, that's also accompanied by the cursor keys on the left, which are connected to each of the boxes on the left hand side of that, and the shape buttons on the right, which are connected to the 4 boxes on the right. So in addition, we are able to create a optional crossbar by holding down the left trigger and the right trigger together there, so we get a third one. So in total we then have 60 I'm going to have to add it up myself, 24 boxes to put skills and traits in. So let's have a overview of that. The first thing to do, if you press the options button and you scroll up onto character, actions and traits, this is where it's all out. Press the X button to get in, and you're going to see an awful lot of options, an awful lot of information. When you first start out, this is going to be rather limited. There's not going to be nearly as many things going on as I have on this character, which is towards the end, the level progression of the game so far. So you can have different submenus. The general one every character and every class has. These are general actions that all characters have and can use, and you'll acquire different ones as you level up. Actions are specific to your character class. Okay, so you'll have those. Traits are also specific to your character class, but you don't need to worry about those. Those work in the background. So things like, for instance, if you're an archer, dexterity is an important stat. You increase that with your damage there, increase dexterity, increase damage from your actions and your shots, and some other tweaks to some of the other skills. Those all vary from character class to character class, but they all share that common kind of ground where they increase your stats or make some of your skills a little bit better, and you get those as you level up. Now, job. What is a job? A job is the next step for a character class, and you'll be able to do that when you get to a certain level of progression in a character class. You will find a quest and it will tell you about acquiring a new job. So for instance, for the archer, the job that will be suggested is to become a if I can remember, a why is that completely escaped me? I'm going to have to think. Let me just quickly remember what my job is. Bard. I don't know why that escaped my mind, because it shouldn't have. Each character class has a different job. So it's just really a name change. That's all that happens there. And with it, you will get a special magical stone that you can equip, and that will then make you into this augmented version of the class you were before. So the archer becomes the bard, the lancer becomes a dragoon, etc., etc. And once you've done that, you then get a whole slew of new skills as you level up. You could see that they only start at level 30 here, which is when that job opportunity appears. So, and then you get all of these new skills that you can use. Roll is a new feature that was introduced with Stormblood, and roll another slew of options here, skills, traits that are shared between the three big class categories I told you about in the last video, which are the tanks, the healers, and the DPS. So being a DPS, I have these extra skills that I can use, and all DPS will have the same skills that I have. Tanks will have a different set of skills, all tanks will share those, and healers will have a different set of skills, and all healers will share those. These are more limited. As you level up, the ability to have more of them will open up, but you can only ever have 5. So that's a bit of a choice selection there, and you have to decide which ones are more suited for you. Under main commands, again, these are all the things that all characters share, and you get more and more of those as you level up. I'll be going over that briefly in a minute. Extras, well, there are 2 there that you can look at and tweak if you wish. I don't use either of them. So that's an overview of where to find your actions and traits. Now let's talk a bit more about this hotbar and how to set it up. If we go to System and we go to Character Configuration, with your cursor key controller, if you go to Control Settings, scroll down to Hotbar Settings on the left hand side, as you can see I'm doing there. So if you follow what I'm going to tell you to do, we will be able to get that optional crossbar up and running for you. So the first selection, if you press X, you'll come onto this main area of this menu here. And you can control the other sub-menus on the top with L1 and R1. The first one, display, ignore. You don't need to worry about that. Press R1, you'll go to sharing. Now what you want to do is you want to mimic that screen as I've set it up there. So under shared with your cursor key, make sure the hotbar 1, 2 and 4 are selected, but 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 are deselected. Under cross hotbar, select 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, but leave 6, 7 and 8 deselected. So once you've done that, ignore cross, because that should be set up correctly. Fine, just ensure that enable crossbar is set, but it is selected, but it should be. And go to custom, which is the last sub menu. Select enable expanded controls with L2 and R2. It makes sense, doesn't it? select down with the cursor key, and you'll see these two boxes here that I'm highlighting. In each box, if you press X, you'll get an awful lot of options. Make sure or ensure that cross hotbar 4 left is selected on the first and cross hotbar 4 left is selected on the second. Carry on scrolling down and deselect enable auto hotbar switching when drawing sheathing weapon. That just makes everything run smoother. And make sure that these lists are as I have them, which is that hotbar 1 and 2 are selected and all the other hotbars are deselected, and again on this one 1 and 2 are selected and all the other hotbars are deselected, and that's fine. That's all you need to do there. Press circle and close. Once you've done that, you'll find that you have, if you press R1, sorry, not being clear, you will clicking from 2 hotbars like that, and when you hold down L2 and R2, you'll have the third hotbar like that.